You know, yesterday I did something which I swore to myself I'd never do again. I did something I swore to myself I'd never do again. My parents have told me not to do it. You guys have told me not to do it. You told me not to do it. My friends have been telling me not to do it for years. And every time I find myself doing it, it was like, I did a New Year's resolution. I said, look, this year you won't do that. And yesterday I did it. So today I'm going to talk about what I did and why I did it. And hopefully you'll see what I saw and you'll realize why I did it, but I shouldn't have done it. Let's do it.
He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. He's all about the DJ, baby. Uncle Ren's in charge. He's a crypto star. So savvy what he say. Fast money like a sports car. He's all about the DJ life. Make some money, change your wife. Big calls on the old coins for the bull market hype. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. 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 Crypto man ran. Crypto banter. You got crypto questions, they got crypto answers. Jean-Claude Van Damme of the Banter fam. Could he kick it? Yes he can. Can he kick it? Yes he can. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man. He's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man ran. He's all about the DJ, baby.
It's all about the DJ, baby. Crypto man, right? I like that song. Alrighty, well, let's get this show on the road. Oh, I've got microphones stuck to my back. I'm sitting on things. Hold on, let's get comfortable first. We can't do a whole show if we're uncomfortable. Got cables everywhere. Story of my life. Alrighty, welcome back, Banter fam. Yeah, we're going to talk about what I did yesterday that you should never, ever do. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Every time you do it, there's more downside. There's just a lot of downside and zero upside if you do it. We're going to talk about what I did and why you shouldn't do it. But then maybe you agree with me. Who knows? What else we can talk about today? I think first of all, let's talk about giveaways because I've got an amazing giveaway for you guys. We did speak about it. Only subscribers to the channel can have the giveaways. We're going to start doing giveaways slightly differently. So we're going to do some giveaways here on the show, on the stream. Then we're going to do some giveaways here. I want to show you this. This is amazing. I'm very proud of this. You can see, I'm super proud. I mean, look at this website. Not only is it a beautiful website, but when the stream comes on, a window pops up and tells you, hey, Mr. Ran and Mr. Sheldino Tentino are live. Anyway, what we're going to do now, if you go to the Crypto Banter website and you sign in with your Twitter, then whoever you are on Twitter, you are on the Crypto Banter website. And if the DJs don't crash the website, which is normally what they do, then you can interact with the website. Just by interacting with the website, we know who you are because you signed in with your Twitter profile. We can give you a giveaway. Imagine that. So that's how we're going to be doing giveaways. Today, there are a whole lot of new articles on the website, which I think are very good. This article over here is a study of when you should sell free airdrops. So we've done an analysis of when the best time to sell your free airdrops is based on all the free airdrops that are out there. Very, very, very good article. Sheldino posted a chart of the day. He thinks that Rune is the chart of the day, which is amazing. Then we had a summary of our previous show, which is done by one of our community members. This article is about Kujira. Kujira is, in my mind, one of the smartest protocols out there. Every time we have a correction, you see the power of Kujira because you see how many people are buying cheap Luna and cheap everything else because of Kujira. That's here on the website. Also, remember on the website, and I'm very proud of this, that now we've got a top 4 audit company auditing our ethics. So we've always kept the same ethics, but now we're actually being audited by a top 4 company. And I know you guys think that that's easy, but it's not easy because there's very few auditing companies that are comfortable enough to audit crypto. And one of the things that we've asked this audit company to do is we asked the audit company to actually audit our wallets because one of our pillars are that we are investors. the founders, hosts, editors, and staff of Banter are investors in the industry. And because we are investors in the industry, we've got a higher level of ethics that we need to abide to. So A, we've got to disclose all our holdings. B, we never allowed to sign any investment agreement. Anyone here is not allowed to sign an investment agreement. That includes you, Jimmy. You're not allowed to sign any investment agreement. And you. And you.
Fair enough.
You can sign. You're not allowed to sign any investment agreements, which mean that you must mention top projects on the show. If ever that happens, you're not allowed to do it. Obviously, we know that. We don't do that. You're not allowed to sell any of your tokens if they're mentioned on the show or on Twitter 24 hours after they've been mentioned. You're never allowed to engage in any coordinated pumping and dumping or buying and selling activity. And then obviously we're going to disclose all your holdings. So we're going to disclose your holdings. I'm going to disclose, Luke, I'm going to disclose your holdings. Jimmy, I'm going to disclose your holdings.
Thanks. Well, this is going to be really long.
Carl, I'm disclosing your holdings. And also, Harry, I'm going to disclose Harry's holdings. I'm going to disclose Harry's holdings on our website. I'm going to do it. You know I'm going to do it. Harry didn't know that he was on the stream. Harry, we're going to catch up with you in a bit. I like your cap, man. I like your cap. Thanks. So, yes. Also, never allowed to accept payment from any token ever to be featured on the show. And if they are, well, then they are in the sponsors corner, which you can see right over there. See, that's where the sponsors are over there. It says, and it's in red. And that's why you know that Unstoppable Domains is a sponsor. That's the only time the token's allowed to be on the show. So let's get the show on the road today. I think before we get the show on the road today, 5,000 likes is when I start doing giveaways today. The giveaways today, get this, okay? So we spoke about this. I showed you this. Syn City, we spoke about it. So a couple of things have happened that really make me like this project. The first thing is it's just a great project with a great team, etc., etc. Do Kwon is an advisor to the project, which I think is amazing. It's a project where Do Kwon himself is advising the project. Kylie Jenner tweeted about this project, which is like, I'm not a big Kylie Jenner, wow celebrities, but it is quite cool that Kylie Jenner tweeted about this project. So we're going to give away 24 times $100 when we get to 5,000 likes. We're going to do it on the website, which I showed you, and we're going to do it here on the stream. So you want the tokens? Well, you know what you need to do. It's so simple. Okay. What else? I guess we've got to talk about billionaires. We've got to talk about billionaires in crypto. Now, I think there's two camps of billionaires in crypto. The one thing is, what I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, months, is that I think that crypto is making more billionaires than any industry in the world, and it's making them faster than any industry in the world. And what I've tasked our journalists and our researchers of doing is I want them to go and compare the list of crypto billionaires, how long it took them to become billionaires, and then compare that to other billionaires. So if you take, say, the top 100 billionaires in the world, how many of them are made from crypto? And then how long did the crypto guys have to work to become billionaires versus how long did Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and those work? I think what we'll realize when we do that analysis is we'll realize that crypto is making more billionaires than any other industry in the world, and it's making them quicker than any other industry in the world. And I think that that's going to reaffirm the conviction that we have in this industry and the fact that we've got to be here, and now is the once in a lifetime opportunity that we have to become billionaires very, very quickly. I think anybody can become billionaire. I know Harry. Harry, are you a billionaire yet?
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be close.
Funny, right?
Yeah, it's got to be close. I mean, you were almost a billionaire in 2017. I remember that. Okay, then there was a correction, but I think by now you must have made back that billion.
Surviving, every day. Just
surviving, Harry. Harry, you got to concentrate in the back, because otherwise I'm going to keep bringing you on. But what I saw you got billionaires like Sam Bankman-Fried, who's I think one of the youngest billionaires in crypto. You got Brian Armstrong, who's a billionaire, no doubt. You got the Winklevoss brothers. I think it's Winklevi when you talk about the Winklevoss brothers. They definitely billionaires. What we're going to do in the next couple of days and weeks is we're going to take all the billionaires and we're going to compare them to the world's billionaires and see how much quicker they became billionaires. CZ, did you see CZ's net worth? $96 billion. $96 billion. I tell you, I was with CZ in 2016, 2017, when he just started Binance, like around that time when he just started Binance. He is such an amazing, down-to-earth guy. I can't imagine that the same guy that I sat with and had dinner with so many times and got drunk with so many times is now worth $96 billion. This happened in 4 years. It just gives us more conviction of this industry that we're in. And if you've got conviction of this industry that we're in, then this is probably the easiest place where anybody can become a billionaire. I bet you that if I ask CZ now, 4 years ago, did you think that you were going to be a billionaire, and let alone not a billionaire, but almost 100 billionaire? I don't think that the answer is yes. I don't think that the answer is yes. And at the same time, what you've got is you've got real life billionaires. So when I say real life, not crypto billionaires, and they are also, let me just try to find it. They had a tweet. Where is that tweet? Here it is. I had a tweet here with Bill Miller. Bill Miller is a billionaire. Not only is he a billionaire, I mean, let's just quickly understand who this guy is, because, you know, everyone's talking about Bill Miller. He's a former chairman of Legg Mason Capital. He is a billionaire. He is best known for outperforming the S&P 500 for 15 consecutive years in a row. If you saw this year, I think like 3 funds in the world beat the S&P 500. This guy beat the S&P 500 for 15 years in a row. Now, he comes out on live television and says, I mean, you got to hear this.
That's what I would say I and the other bulls believe.
Okay, but why the outsized, why 50% of your personal net worth? I mean, I'm assuming that the other 50% is in like your Miller value funds, or I don't know how you've diversified. And
well, actually, close to the other 50% is in Amazon. All of the rest of the investments that I have are basically there to support margin debt. I'm typically always on margin, which means I can take a lot of volatility. Now, I'm not obviously on deadly margin. I'm using regular Reg T margin.
He's a degen. He's on margin. The guy's a degen. What he's saying is that 50% of his wealth is in Bitcoin. One of the things that I found really interesting about this interview, when I listened to this interview, is he talks about the dynamics of Bitcoin. Listen to this. Or don't. Really? Let's try that again. Seriously? Okay, hold on. Let's try this again. But he talks about the supply dynamics of Bitcoin. Let's see if we can get to about 1 minute 40. You know, I hate it when it does that, because when I'm watching Pornhub and it does that, it really frustrates me, man. It's like I'm just there, and then it's like that circle starts coming up. We've got to fix the internet here.
Level for supply and demand. So Bitcoin is the only economic entity where the supply is unaffected by the demand. So even with gold, if gold would...
The only economic entity with the supply is completely unaffected by demand. And so what he's done is he's put 50% of his wealth into Bitcoin. So there's a very smart billionaire. Now, the question is whether it's time to be putting that, if you've got money now, the question is whether it's time to be putting 50% of your money into Bitcoin. I don't know if it is that time, but that's the question on everyone's minds. And yesterday, as I said to you guys, I did something which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have done it. It's true, I shouldn't have done it. It's the unthinkable. It's the unthinkable. Really, it's the unthinkable. You know why it's the unthinkable? Because you should never do things where there's downside and not as much upside. You shouldn't do things where there's downside and not as much upside. Now, when you do something like I did yesterday, where there's only downside, you get zero upside. Zero upside, only downside. My parents have told me, look, don't do it. Don't do it. There's no upside. People here at the office, Luke, Fred, Kyle, don't do it. When I was younger and in 2017 and even through school, people kept saying to me, do not do it. It's a bad thing. It's bad form. You should never, ever, ever, ever do it. But I still did it. I don't know why, but at the time when I was doing it, I thought, should I do it? I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I did it. Can't believe I did it. And then when I did it, I thought, how do I undo this? By that time, it was too late. It's too late. You know what I did? Tell you what I did. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it. Every time I do it, I regret doing it. You know what I did? I called the bottom. I picked the bottom. There is no downs. There is absolutely no upside in the world to calling the bottom. Because 99% of the time when you call the bottom, you're going to be wrong. You're going to be absolutely wrong. 99% of the time when you call a bottom, you're going to be wrong. And the problem is that if you call the bottom and you're wrong, then crypto Twitter is going to remind you, okay, that it's going to remind you of it for years. It's going to be like you know when you have a fight with your wife will bring up something that happened 16 years ago. She'll bring it up with all the details as if it happened yesterday. So your wife will bring up, you'll do something, and then you'll have a fight about it, and then 16 years later, she'll bring up the details, and even though you've already had the fight about it, your wife will bring up what happened 16 years ago, even though you've had a fight and you've resolved it. That's exactly the issue with calling the bottom. If you try and pick a bottom, you get shit on your fingers. And no one knows when the bottom is, because no one can call the market. Even the smartest people in the world have proven that they cannot call a market and that you can't call the bottom. Mike Novogratz said that we were going to get a blow off top. We never got a blow off top. He also went on to CNBC and tried to call the bottom. You can't call the bottom. Plan B said we were going to get to $100,000. We never got to $100,000. Then he made a second model, the stock to flow floor model. Never hit the stock to flow model. Bottom line is no one knows where the market is going. Not even BitBoy. Not even BitBoy, believe it or not. Not even BitBoy knows where the markets are going. So why did I, after all of this, why did I go out there onto Twitter where I know I'm going to get destroyed and call the bottom? Why? No upside, only downside, smelly fingers, poo on your fingers. You try and pick a bottom, you're going to get poo on your fingers. Why did I do it? I'll tell you why I did it. Because the bottom is not actually about finding a level. It's not the bottom. It's not like saying the bottom is 40,000. The bottom is actually a range. The bottom is between, say, 42,000 and 35,000. And that is the bottom. And usually when you get to a bottom, you see a whole lot of different types of behaviors that represent the bottom. Now, I've been around in multiple stock market crashes. I've been around since 2014, 15 in crypto, and I've seen multiple corrections. And what I saw, or what I've been seeing in the last couple of days, reminds me a hell of a lot of previous bottoms. And I want to show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 things that show me that, hey, maybe we're not at the bottom, because if you try and pick the bottom, you know what happens, but we're very close to a bottom. We're in the range where it's safe to say that we're there. We're pretty much there. And I'll show you what that means. I'll show you what that means. So the first thing that I looked at is I looked at fear and greed. Logical. We've been in a period of fear, extreme fear, for quite a long time now. We've been there for quite a long time. So what I decided to do was to go back in history and say, okay, let's look at historically, where are the times that we've spent a reasonable amount of time here in these areas. And you can see that the last time this happened was in June last year. We spent a whole lot of time here, you see? And the same thing is happening now. Maybe there's another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But traditionally, when we get to periods when we spend a lot of time in extreme fear, we typically get to see uptrends. Crypto Burb was the one that pointed this out here in this tweet. You also see that Coinometrics say that, this is quite obvious to me, historically speaking, when the market is in extreme fear, it is more likely to bounce back up than to drop further down. So quite obvious. Then you've got the fear and greed index, which shows that where we are now is the extreme. We're almost where we were at the bottom of the COVID correction. That's how low the extreme, the fear thing. Market remains in fear, pattern continues. And that is from the root, the rational root. What we know is that every time we get to extreme fear, we start to get capitulation behavior by the market. the market starts to go salty. The comments on Twitter become salty. Less people watch the show. The only people that watch the show are the people that are really smart and realize that you've got to do your research in the bear market to make money in the good market, and not come here like those tourists that arrive at the nightclub, like I said earlier, at 3 o'clock in the morning, expecting to pick up all the ladies, or the ladies expecting to pick up all the men. 3 o'clock in the morning, all the profits are gone. Okay, so when people start getting salty and starting to lean bearish and start calling 23,000s and 10,000s, you know the market is nearing a bottom. And we saw that from Crypto Kalia. Love the Crypto Kalia account. He says, I'm starting to lean bearish. It just doesn't feel right that we've been consolidating this range for so long without being able to reclaim any significant levels. It means that people are capitulating. It means that they've lost their drive. Okay, so that's the first thing. And we may not be exactly at the bottom based on the fear and greed index, but we're definitely close. So that's the first reason why I think that we are quite near a bottom. The next reason why I think we're quite near the bottom is because when you go through these periods of extreme fear, you get this capitulation candle. You get this one big wick, which kind of dries up the last of these sellers. And I think we saw a capitulation wick yesterday. Let me show you some historical capitulation wicks. There's one that happened on the 16th of May. You see this big wick over here, and then we had another one of them over here. You saw this one with volume. Here is another one. We capitulated over here. We had a big wick, and we had another one of those big wicks yesterday. If you zoom in a little bit and you go, say, on the 1 hour time frame, you'll see that when yesterday, when we had that capitulation wick, for the first time in a long time, we actually got volume. We actually got like real volume for the first time. Look, we've had no volume. Capitulation wick, boom, the volume came, and then the volume came back yesterday. It's the first time in a while that we've seen the volume starting to come back. Sheldon pointed this out in a tweet, which was a very good tweet. Income Shark said, on the Bitcoin 4 hours, we got this like capitulation wick where the price went down and then everybody started to buy again. So that for me was another sign that, you know what, we actually may be nearing a bottom. We may not be at the bottom, but we may be nearing a bottom. Next sign is leverage. We've been talking about leverage for a while. Usually what I would say is that when the leverage goes down, we're nearing a bottom. In May, when the leverage got to the bottom, we were at the bottom. And then, you know, a couple of more days, the price went choppy and then we started to climb again. And now we've had this capitulation in price and we're not getting the capitulation of the leverage. Weird. Not so weird. I told you guys the other day what the answer here was. The reason why the leverage is not capitulating is because I don't believe that this leverage is clusters or institutions of long leverage. I think that this time the leverage is different. I think a lot of the leverage is actually clusters of short selling leverage. And that means that when the market turns, we could get a capitulation bounce of the sellers. So let's look over here. Will Clemente says Bitcoin has now spent 7 days below the 45K and still no major open interest wipeout. So longs aren't getting liquidated. What he's saying is either there's sufficient demand down at these levels or this open interest is not aggressive longs. I agree with him. If it's not aggressive longs, then what is it? It can only be long or short. You can't take out leverage for neutral. So it's aggressive long or short. It's probably aggressive shorts. What's going to happen to aggressive shorts? I'll tell you what's going to happen to aggressive shorts. If the theory is right, then over here, you see how the price collapsed here. You might get the same price spike on the way up if it is shorts and there are a short squeeze. And I think that this could happen. I really think that this could happen. I'm a big fan of this happening. I'm a big proponent of this happening because logically, if the leverage was there and the leverage was long leverage clusters, big long leverage clusters, then as the price would have come down, the leverage would have liquidated and it would have cascaded and it would have caused a whole lot of long liquidations. The price has crashed hugely and fast, and there'd be no long liquidations. You're telling me that all those leverage hands are strong hands and they're not getting margin called? I don't think so. Anyway, next point. So the next reason why I think we may have bottomed is dominance. Sheldon spoke about this, but every time, Jenny, stop looking at all the bottoms. I like Jenny. I like Jenny. So dominance is another reason why I think we may have bottomed. Remember that Sheldon spoke about this chart, and he said that when the dominance breaks out, does a bit of a retest, and then we can expect a Bitcoin run, which will drive the Bitcoin price back up. When the Bitcoin price goes up and recovers, the recovery is going to be Bitcoin, then major alts, then smaller alts. That's kind of like how the recovery always happens. So if the dominance has started to turn and this chart is right and we get a retest and then we go straight up, that means Bitcoin recovers first and then only the alts recover. And if we're right, then what's going to happen is we're going to get a lower high here, we've got a higher high here, higher high here, a lower high here. We'll probably get another one somewhere around the 44, 45, 46, but lower than this. And then we can continue with the bull market and potentially continue with alt season. You can see that. Let me see. There we go. So you've got Shart Enthusiast says, ooh, I'm diverging. Triple bottom on BTC dominance season approaching. So maybe the dominance is actually going to go up again. So dominance is another reason why I think that the Bitcoin bottom may be in. So far I've given you guys 4. We've had sentiment and extreme fear. We've had the capitulation candle, which we saw. We've had leverage. We've got Bitcoin dominance. I want to show you another one. The 10-year US yield rate. So if you look at the divergence between the 10-year and the Bitcoin price, the 10-year yield, every time the 10-year yield goes up and there is a divergence, Bitcoin usually has a spike after that. The 10-year yield is the return on people taking government debt. So as people sell government debt, it becomes cheaper and the return gets higher. It means that people are letting go their bonds, their government bonds, and they're investing it into riskier assets. And that's exactly what this shows. And now there's a divergence between 10-year government debt, 10-year yields, and Bitcoin. Traditionally, when that happens, well, that means there is usually a spike. Dan BTC 916 says there's a macro correlation between BTC and yields within cycles. Sometimes there's a divergence, specifically BTC down with yields up, and that's a positive development which has led to breakouts. Remember, yesterday I showed you guys the yield on the 10-year treasury spiking up. So that could be another reason why we have bottomed. Then inflation. Inflation. Remember, this whole thing is happening because of inflation. Because we got inflation, everyone is scared that the Fed is going to increase interest rates. That's why everybody is so scared at the moment. And remember that today, Jerome Powell, what's the word? I think he gets reconfirmed. Yeah, that's the word. He gets reconfirmed as the chair of the Federal Reserves, and the CPI numbers hit tomorrow.
25 minutes.
Today. So he gets reconfirmed today in 25 minutes. He's going to do a speech. He's going to tell us about how he's going to get inflation under control. I think that what could happen is that on Wednesday, tomorrow, when he talks about the inflation numbers are going to be much lower than the previous month. And people are going to think, hold on a second, it's actually not as bad as we think. And even though Jamie Dimon came out yesterday and he said he wouldn't be surprised if there were 4 inflation rate hikes this year, I think that might actually convince the market that maybe things aren't as bad as we think. Think about where the markets are. So if you look at where the markets are, you're looking at the NASDAQ, and you talk about 2012, the markets are down in 2012. Let me just get my fancy ruler again. But if you look at where the markets are down, the markets are down 7 or 8% from the highs, and that is in the first trading week or the first and second trading week of 2022. Imagine that. Imagine in the first 7 days of the year, we are down 7 or 8%. I think the market may have run down too little. And I think tomorrow the inflation numbers are going to come out slightly better than expected. That sends the markets going back up. And then I think crypto will follow, because this whole thing is actually about this fear that Jerome Powell is going to keep increasing interest rates and do it too fast. That's another reason why I think we may be nearing a bottom. I think the markets have completely overreacted. What else? I mean, let's just look at what other people are saying here. CPI numbers on Wednesday, will there be a catalyst where we decide we go lower towards 30K or have a bigger bounce towards 50, 55? If inflation is below 6, bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. If it's above 7, we are fucked for the short term. So, I can't imagine that the CPI numbers are above 7. I think they've come in below 6. That'll be a surprise. That's exactly what the market wanted, right? Let's see here. The same conditions have begun to shift. Inflation concerns. The change in rhetoric has pulled forward Fed expectations for Fed funds. The market is now pricing in 100% probability of 3 rate hikes this year and a plus minus 50% chance of a 4th rate hike by December versus 1 rate hike just a month ago. So that's what's all happening. So all eyes on the Fed tomorrow to see what happens. That's another reason why I think we may be getting to a short-term bottom. Then we've got to look at the on-chain metrics. And the on-chain metrics are showing us signs of health. We look at Bitfinex, and the reason why we look at Bitfinex is because Bitfinex is where the whales trade, or a lot of the whales trade. Harry trades on Bitfinex. I bet you will ask Harry, but he trades on Bitfinex. So he's a whale. Whales trade on Bitfinex. Reserves uptrend is cooling off. In other words, what they're saying here is you can see that the whales, their reserves are down, which means that the whales are starting to sell. We're also seeing 4 other positive on-chain metrics. The first one is net flows. There's more outflows than inflows onto exchanges. Here we go, over here. Then you've got the miners, which are buying. Now, remember, the miners accumulate. They're usually quite smart. They accumulate when the price is going up, and then they sell. So the miners are actually a very, very, very good measure. Then you got reserves on exchanges going down again, finally. Look at the Bitcoin reserves on exchanges. Last week up, but now there's no more reserves. The selling pressure is completely gone. And then the miner outflows. There's no sell-off. There's no miner outflow sell-off. So the on-chain metrics are actually starting to look quite bullish. So let's say this. If you want to pick a bottom, that's up to you. I don't think you should try and pick a bottom because the bottom is actually a range. And when we get to that range, you kind of know about it. You start feeling that you're near a bottom. And I don't know, it just feels to me that when you take these 7 things, then you're near a bottom. It's not definite. It's just you're near the bottom. Now, we may go down a little bit more because the bottom is actually a range. It's not, like if you think of a bottom, I'll show you what I mean. So let's say you think of a bottom, right? Okay, now, if you look at a bottom, let me just, I can't turn the camera here, but like a bottom is like, it's from here to here. It's not like here. It's like from here to here. Yeah, let me show you. I'll show you what I mean. So basically, if you want to see a bottom, okay, so that's if you want to see the bottom. If you want to see the bottom, then what you have to do, you can either do that, or for those of you who want to see the bottom, what you need to do is just follow this. Okay, so you go www.pornhub. You see when I put the P, it automatically got the Pornhub, you see. So now you can just go, so you go www.pornhub.com and then you hit enter. And then you see a bottom. So that's the only time that you can definitely see a bottom. If you definitely want to pick a bottom, then go to pornhub.com, enter bottom. You'll see, hold on. You'll see some crazy ass shit. If you go to pornhub.com and you say bottom picking, okay, you'll see some crazy stuff. But anyway, on a more serious note, it's not about bottoms and picking a bottom. It's about finding a range where you're comfortable. And if you're comfortable, can you say when you talk about a bottom, finding a range where you're comfortable? You can't say that. Eh? Can you just pause the show? Just put that thing on for 1 second. Just hold on. Yeah, let's just maybe take a 2 seconds. Okay, we're back. Anyway, you know what to do if you want to see a bottom. But the idea is not to pick a bottom. The idea is to find a range where you're comfortable. Find a range where you're absolutely comfortable. And when you do find a range where you're absolutely comfortable, then at that range, you start buying in, and you start buying into things that are safe. You look for things with good fundamentals. Now, one of the tokens that we've been looking at that really does have amazing fundamentals, and I really thought that this token would have an amazing January. In fact, I tweeted out in December that I think it's going to be a Fantom January. And I think that because of all this market turbulence, you got Fantom up at $2.37, and it is up 7.2% today. I think it has done pretty well given the market carnage. But if you look at the fundamentals around Fantom, and I follow this guy, his name is Miles Deutscher. In fact, I think we should get Miles to start writing some stuff for us. But he's looking at the fundamentals, and when he looks at the fundamentals of Fantom, he's saying, look, it's EVM compatible, it's decentralized, it's got Andre Cronje building stuff on it. Andre Cronje is on a rampage building something with Fantom. But the TVL has increased this week by 27%. You can see that. So, and Fantom was the only protocol in the major protocols where the TVL, the total value locked, increased. If you look at the TVL to market cap ratio, so you take the total TVL and you compare that to the market cap, you got a TVL of one. Like it's the cheapest chain if you compare it to TVL. We always say that you should follow the developer activity, and if you look at the bounce in January, the bounce comes out of Fantom. So the green, look at everybody else, the developer activity has been on the decline, and the developer activity on Fantom has actually been on the incline. So Fantom theoretically should have exploded. It hasn't really exploded because the market hasn't exploded. Now, I wanted to see if I can find you these tweets by Andre Cronje, because he's obviously up to something. And it looks like him, Daniel Sester. Let me just get this thing. Hope YouTube doesn't ban us. Seriously, I hope YouTube doesn't ban us. So you got final set of commits. You see that you can see that Andre Cronje is currently working on something. Him, Daniel Sester are currently working on something to do with Fantom. Don't know what it is. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about it. He's doing something on Fantom. The other reason why I think Fantom is exploding is because of Harry and because of Tomb Finance. If you understand, if you spend time and there we go. If you understand how to utilize Tomb Finance, it's the best money that you can make in crypto. Actually, I'm going to get Harry on. This is the part where I'm going to get Harry on. Harry.
Hi, Ran. How are you?
The peg has just gone positive.
Yes. Actually, I recommend that. Check out tomb.com. That's the new interface. This is the latest
a new
interface.
interface. Okay, amazing. Did you buy a new website, Harry?
No, we just bought the domain.
Oh, wow.
Our
Okay.
engineering team. Yes. Really kind of bringing Tomb to the masses right now.
Okay, so Tomb, now the peg is over. So that means that if you're holding Tshares and you're staking your Tshares, then you're actually starting to earn crazy yields on the Tshares, right?
That's correct. So 4 times a day, at least here in the UAE at 4:30 and 10:30 GMT time. That's around 4 o'clock here in the morning. What happens is the epoch, that's if the Tomb and Fantom are above 1.01 for the peg, Tomb will actually be minted if you hold Tshares.
Okay, so actually before we go there, I just want to explain to the viewers what Tomb and Fantom are. So
Sure.
Tomb is an algorithmically backed pegged coin to Fantom. The idea
That's
is
correct.
that Tomb needs to be pegged to Fantom all the time. The idea is to try and keep the peg as much as possible. And the reason why this has been created is because there's this amazing protocol, Fantom, but in order to keep the network secure, people have to stake their Fantom tokens. And because
That's correct.
people are staking their Fantom tokens, most of the supply, or a big part of the supply, is actually locked up in this staking, in the validating
nodes. That's correct.
in the validator nodes.
And what happens is a lot of the other networks allow you to unstake immediately and you can instantly use the Fantom that's on the nodes. However, Fantom implemented a 7-day lock, which is actually quite smart because it prevents people from dumping Fantom if there's a big price move. However, right now they haven't really come up with a way to effectively allow you to lend against validator nodes Fantoms that's staked. There is a staked Fantom, but it's not very, very popular. So right now, that's actually why Tomb was created back in June of this year. But as we all know, there was a gatekeeper exploit, so the most algorithmic...
I want to get into gatekeeper exploit, but just 1 second.
Sure.
Just 1 second. So the idea is that if you look at this site, the price of Tomb is always somewhere around the price of Fantom. Now, as we speak right now, the price of Tomb is 1.03, so 3%, 1.03, 1 plus 3% of a Fantom. So right now, a Tomb is trading at 247, and if we look at Fantom is at 239. So there's a slight premium, which means that Tomb has now gained its peg and actually beat the peg to Fantom. Now we'll talk about that in a second. How this actually works
correct.
is, and this is the genius for me. This is the genius. I think I finally understand how you can make tons and tons and tons of cash with Tomb and Fantom. So listen up. This is how it works. If the peg goes below 1, in order to get the peg back to 1, they've got to reduce the amount of Tomb that's in the market. Because if the peg is below 1, there's too many Tomb in the market. And they do that by releasing bonds. And so they put bonds out there. You buy these bonds using your Tomb, and they burn the Tomb that you used to buy the bonds. And that makes less Tomb in the market. And now you're holding this bond, right?
Correct.
Okay. You hold the bond, and when the peg goes above 1, you can sell the bond back for Tomb, but you get more Tomb than the bonds than the bond, right?
That's correct. You'll get a Tomb premium. I believe if it's believed 1.05. So when the peg of Tomb to Fantom is around 2, I think you get almost 2.5 times Tomb.
Wow.
If you hold the peg. So one of the biggest reasons why we're big believers in Tbond as well is we wanted to kind of see how the protocol would work if we expanded to the maximum amount of Tbonds. So what we did this week was we really just let the market absorb as much Tomb against Fantom as possible, and Tomb actually fell below peg for the longest it's been since I took over the project, which was for about 8 days. But during this 8 days, it allowed us to accumulate these Tbonds. Now, why we accumulated these Tbonds was really to allow us to create a liquid market so that if people decided they want to trade Tbonds out for Tomb afterwards, we're building an exchange for that right now, like a swap.
But I mean, the idea was, and I tweeted this actually. I said, look, if you because the peg was so out, the peg was out by about 6 or 7% at one stage. The idea would be to buy as many of the bonds as you can possibly get your hands on. Then you wait for the peg, and then you can basically sell. You can sell you can sell the bonds and get more Tomb, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and this is a this is like a microcosm of finance and just kind of like a miniature central bank. So no project has really ever successfully done this because there's most people in the DeFi space, as you say, they're degens, they're very impatient. But what's happened is since I've taken over on our team, we've been able to stretch out around, it's been 18 weeks since we've been doing Tomb Tuesday updates. So today's actually, I think we're past 120 days just since we took over, from the exploit, which we can kind of talk a little bit about before. So we're thinking about 6 to 12 months ahead for Tomb right now. So if you want to, can definitely go into a little bit more about the whole protocol and kind of how it's going to benefit Fantom and the ecosystem a little bit more. Talking a little bit more about the past, the present, and the future.
Well, let's talk about that. So, but before we talk about that, I just want to talk about, so then there's Tshares. Now, Tshares, when the peg is above 1.01, which it is right now, the Tshares start to earn insane yield, which is paid out in Tomb. So you just, I think the yield's as high as 1,000 or 2,000% every time
click on
that
buy T-share, right? Actually, if you click on scroll
I'm
up
not
at the top.
connected. I specifically don't have a wallet connected to this laptop, so I can't get exploited. So
No, actually go back and hit Cemetery. Or sorry,
yeah,
hit the Masonry. Sorry about that.
I don't think it would let me in because I don't have. I'm not connected.
Yeah, the Masonry. Okay. So in the Masonry, what essentially happens is you're able to get about 1,000% right now. You have to. It'll pay back Tomb to Treasury first, just because there's a lot of T-bond debt. But once the T-bond debt is repaid, that APY will actually jump, I think, from 1,000 to 2,000% Tomb. So what you're going to see is a lot of people start buying a lot more T-shares. So I think at the peak, there was about 40,000 T-shares staked in the Masonry, and at a low, there's about 28,000 T-shares. Now we're sitting at around 29. Let me just double check. I think it's about 29,000 T-shares. So one of the things to kind of keep in mind too is like because this project, it's only been 4 months since we've been taken over, and nothing like this has been done before. We're really just kind of in the data collection stage on just kind of how to manage and grow this protocol. And so far, I think the biggest reason for the success of this protocol is just patience. You know, we do very, very small incremental changes, and you know, we just really, really kind of just focus on one thing, which is how do we help maintain the peg and grow the protocol going forward.
But I mean, to summarize it, bottom line is if Tomb loses its peg and you believe that it's ever going to come back into peg, you should buy as many of the Tbonds as you possibly can. And you should probably buy as many T-shares as you possibly can, because the price of T-shares goes down because you don't get any staking reward on T-shares when the T-shares loses its peg. When the price
that's actually not true now. So what's amazing is with Tomb, there's a huge ecosystem that's been built around it now. You have auto compounders such as Reaper, Beefy, and then you've got Taro, which is a fork of Impermex, which allows you to essentially stake single-sided Tomb. So one of the things that we experimented with was if you hold Tomb and you just stake it on Taro.to, you'll earn 120 to 200% yields just for holding Tomb. And with T-shares, it's the same thing. So even single-sided staking of T-shares is actually available on Taro.
I mean, and just when you say you'll earn 100% Tomb, you're actually effectively earning 100% on Fantom, because one Tomb equals one Fantom, and theoretically it should keep the peg. So you're earning 100% on Fantom.
Correct. So what we're starting to see now is there's some flow from the validator nodes into the Tomb protocol, as well as a lot more of these the other DeFi lending protocols such as Taro.
Well, that's what I did. I mean,
the yield is much higher.
I unstaked my Fantom from the validator nodes where I was getting, I think, 10, 12, 7. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was
14% if you stake for a whole year.
Yeah, so I unstaked that. I took the money. I took the money. I'm putting that money into Tomb, and I'm staking the Tomb at 100%, which makes much more sense than holding Fantom in the nodes. Now, I know that it could lose the peg. It's one of the risks I'm willing to take. One of the reasons I'm willing to take that risk is because I know that you're behind the project. And I know that anything that you touch usually turns to gold. So I'm kind of like saying, look, if Harry's saying that it's a thing, it does mean there are risks. There are hack risks, especially you saw Grim was hacked and exploited. I want to talk to you about the other exploit. And I think that the exploit actually happened before you took over at Tomb,
September.
Right?
That's correct.
Well, what actually happened? What actually happened?
So what happened was when the protocol was designed originally, one of the thoughts was, okay, in order to keep Fantom at peg, if it gets close to peg, we're going to disincentivize people for selling by taxing them. So what ended up happening was if you wanted to sell Tomb when it was at 1.1, you would get taxed 20%. There are some actors out there or bad actors that found out there was a way around that tax loophole. So once they exposed that, a lot of people just ended up dumping Tomb against Fantom. I was one of the victims as well, but I mean, I just had so much fun like with the project because you have to be very, very intelligent to use the Tomb protocol somewhat, because you have to read the documents, you have to understand expansion and contraction of money supply. So for me, it was a project that I really, really loved. But more importantly, I saw that there was a community of people that were really, really affected. And I thought, this project is so unique in the entire crypto space that if you could get this thing to work properly and, it was funded properly. And I said, if I ever had an opportunity to really kind of help the project, I would. So what happened when the exploit happened is the protocol almost went to zero. Like I think when I bailed out the project, Tomb was at 4 cents and Tshares was at $14. So pretty good return, but we're just kind of still, kind of getting started. But that's essentially what happened was that a loss of confidence. There was a Medium article that came out, and then everybody sold. So if you don't mind, I'd like to also talk a little bit about that as well, about what we're doing for the exploit that happened. So even though it happened before our time, we took over this project, and we see kind of a sense of responsibility because a lot of people took their hard-earned money and put it into this. So what we actually decided to do, why I bought all the Tbonds and the DAO bought all the Tbonds, is we're going to take snapshots from, I think, September 1st to the 5th when the exploit actually happened, and we're going to be airdropping some of the Tbonds and this other token called Fante and Life. So that'll make up for some of the kind of like lost money that affected people. And we're doing a similar thing for the Grim Finance as well, even though that it had nothing to do with us. The thing is, when someone attacks the ecosystem, whether it's our project directly or not, it effectively affects everybody. So we're here to kind of really, really look out for the ecosystem. And it's a great way to kind of really kind of give back. Tomb's given us a lot. So that's why the meme was Tomb is life and life is Tomb. So life is actually an Olympus DAO fork that, we created. And Fante is this utility token that we're launching for our exchange called Felix. So we're very, very excited because if you got exploited, you're going to get some Tbonds. But what we're doing is for anybody that's holding Tbonds for the last 120 days and even before the exploit, you're going to get 2 times the rewards for the airdrops for Life and Fante. And if you were involved in anything with Tomb, Tshares were taking snapshots, even with the LPs, you'll get airdrop some Fante and some Life. And starting from today, I think 4 a.m. January 11th, for the next 120 days to celebrate, the 120 days of us kind of like taking over the project. If you own Tomb, Tshares, or any LP, we're going to be taking snapshots the next 120 days, and you'll be getting Life and Fante as well. So quickly run us through what is Life, and what is Fante, just so we understand the difference between the two tokens. Sure. So Life is a token that we believe is important for Tomb. It's essentially an Olympus DAO fork, and it allows us to kind of really bring back in some of the liquidity so that the project owns some of the liquidity. So we're incentivizing people with the token called Life. We're also going to be doing something similar to what Taro is doing with single-sided staking and incentivizing people by giving them Life tokens as well. So there's a whole ecosystem about how Tomb will be supporting Life and Life is supporting Tomb. And then Fante is just it's a cat token. Nobody's really succeeded at creating a cat token, so I figured let's create a cat token, make it a little bit more fun, but it's also got utility behind it. And it's going to be the equivalent of like the BNB, but for the Felix exchange. And the Felix exchange is the Fantom-based exchange, which is built on the Binance software, on the Binance exchange software, right? Binance Cloud, that's correct. So originally, the vision really was to just focus on Fantom's blockchain ecosystem. We're also possibly looking at AVAX and Matic just because, Tomb's got cross-chain. So essentially, any of the projects that touch Tomb or Fantom will be... the tokens will be traded on this exchange. Amazing, Harry. Are we going to see you next week in Miami? You'll definitely see me. You'll definitely see me in Miami. I look forward to seeing you and having another show there. Amazing. So the Banter's hosting the opening party for the event, so I'm sure we'll see you at the opening party. And guys, if you haven't got tickets, tomorrow we'll be releasing a link where you can fill in and you can maybe join us at the opening party. I have given away, I think, 750 tickets to the Banter community for the actual event. So I think I can't give away. You will love this. We're gonna have a special token called Only, which I'll give you some more details on. Amazing, Harry. Yeah. Good to see you, my friend. You're looking good. You're looking relaxed, my friend. We'll see you again in Miami. Great. Thanks for having me on the show, Ran. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Wow, what a legend. We love Harry. What a legend. What a total legend. Alrighty, guys. I will see you guys again tomorrow, or maybe I'll see you later. Maybe I'll join Hustle's show. I need to get my mix of video gaming, of gaming. There's a lot of stuff going in the gaming. Let's quickly just take a look at the price of Bitcoin while we're here.
It's almost at 42 and probably way above the bottom. Way above the bottom. I'll see you guys again later or tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends. We're definitely banned from YouTube forever.
Was that our last stream ever?
That's our last stream ever. That's the end of YouTube.
Oops.